All right, so we have our lesson continued here. We're going to use those symbols again, less than, greater than, or equal to compare the following numbers. All right, so this time we don't have a number line. So we're going to take a look at these numbers. Remember, the big mouth is going to eat the big number. Which is bigger, 5 or 7? I know 7's bigger, so big mouth eats the big number. So when you read this, you read it as 5 is less than 7. You do not have to type that. But so this little part is going to point to the smaller number, so that means 5 is going to be less than 7. You read it just like you're reading a book. 5 is less than 7. Left to right there. All right, now we have 210 and 210 and 0 tenths. Remember, this 0, if you have a decimal and then that 0, that does not change its value, so they are going to be equal. So 210 is equal to 210. It's just like having $210 and $210 and 0 cents. Same thing. All right, let's take a look here. This is a little tricky because we have negatives. -2 and then -2.5. Would you rather owe somebody $2 or would you rather owe somebody $2.50? $2.50. Yeah, I'd rather keep my 50 cents. So I know that -2 is going to be closer to 0, and I'd rather give someone $2 than $2.50. So that big mouth is going to eat the bigger number, and -2. You can also picture a number line. -2 is closer to 0 than -2.5 or -2.5. All right, let's take a look here. So we have 43 and 5 tenths and 43 and 4 tenths. They're both positive, so that means this 5 is going to be bigger than that 4. So that means big mouth eats the big number. 43 and 5 tenths is bigger. Or greater. All right, next one. Ooh, we've got negatives. So when you're thinking of negatives, it's kind of like the opposite. Just like when we do think of a negative, it is an opposite. So typically, if they were both positive, 9 tenths would be greater. But since it's negative, it flips it onto the other side and makes it the opposite. So 9 tenths is actually going to be smaller. It looks like it might be greater, but -9 tenths is going to be smaller. If you do look at a number line here, you're going to have -0.9, and then you have -0.8, -0.7, ... and then you have 0. So that -0.8 is going to be closer to 0 than -0.9 is. And that's going to be it for our lesson continued.